Good morning, everyone. Good morning here. Welcome to BASF. Welcome to K 2019. Welcome to our live talk, our first live talk for today. We're talking about the Neo plug. Actually, it's more than a plug, and we will learn more about it from Christian Kaiser. He joins us from Walther Werke, and Andreas Nixdorf from BASF's Performance Materials division. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to have you back. How are you feeling? Second day of K, all good?
Yes, of course. Still perfect.
Very, very good. So Christian, the Neo plug, more than a plug, is one of the biggest projects for Walther Werke. Can you tell us a little bit more what's behind that project?
Yes. Well, Walther Werke is, with about 120 years of experience, one of the experts in low voltage power distribution. And with the Neo plug, we developed a new generation of CE connectors that should raise the standard to a higher level. In addition to optimized features and optimized user benefit, Neo stands for as a new level of CE connectors. And this is why we were looking for materials with the best performance. And we are, because of earlier projects, we know that BASF can be one of these development partners.
So you said you were looking for a specific material, and that's when you came into play with the material selection, right?
Yes, correct. So if it goes to materials, then Christian always comes to me. And before we started Neo, we had some different smaller projects together. And one of the biggest was to replace an uncolored product where Walther Werke did the self-coloring, which sometimes could be this cheaper solution at the end, but of course brings more complexity into production. And the process is more safe if you have a pre-colored product, and that's the reason why we offered to develop a pre-colored product, which fulfill all requirements Walther Werke needs for their plugs. One of them was the UV resistance, which is marked with the F1 listing on the yellow card. And so with that product, we were able to replace the product in a running series, which is always a bit challenging because
of course
you can't change something on the mold or on the process.
It's also expensive then.
Yes, then it's very expensive. And so it was really plug and play. They just had to change the products and it runs. So that was really perfect for us. And then later on, he came to us and asked, we have an idea about a new plug, the Neo. And they want to have a completely new design with some special features in direction of Industry 4.0, for example. And yes, I was impressed because it looks completely different, the plug, to the old one. But I was convinced that we could support Christian in that big project with our products, but also with different testing labs we have in Ludwigshafen. So we could do a lot of tests for them. And I think that was one of the main reasons why we did it together at the end.
It was.
Which, Christian, a plug like this, are there specific testing methods that need to be applied? Does it have to fulfill, which criteria does it have to fulfill for you?
Well, the testing methods are strictly connected to the features. So, for example, we integrated the cage clamp from Vago in our contacts. So we have a new screwless contact system, which requires, which have high requirements. For example, UL94, CTI 600 or glow wire resistance. And this is why to find a suitable material was really hard. Yes, after a detailed requirement analysis, Andreas guided us through the material selection, and finally, a functional material was found. So this is one example. Another one is the strain relief of this, we call it one-touch system. This is a self-adjusting strain relief, which is automatically activated by closing the front and the rear parts. The problem here was, or the challenge was, to find a material that withstands these high pull-out forces of the cable. So also here we need the support of Andreas because he knows the best materials with, or have the best experience in materials with a high impact strength or a high structural strength.
It has to fulfill a lot of criteria at once. It needs to be very stable, but also flexible.
Absolutely. So it needs to be very stiff, but very tough on the other side. And to combine these properties is very hard. And it was one of the biggest challenges for me, to be honest. But after, I would say 3 loops, something like that, it was fine, and we really had a nice solution on that, yes.
You talked about the material selection. That's of course one part of the solution, is finding the right material. On the other hand, you also said that we applied some materials testing from our facilities in Ludwigshafen. Can you describe a little more what's behind that?
Yeah, so we can do a lot of things in Ludwigshafen. For example, I think the most important thing was to do the UV testing. I mean, if you have such a plug, it's important also to use it outside, on a construction site, for example. And that Christian get his final approval to use it on the outside, you have to fulfill different criteria. And one of them is the F1 listing on a yellow card, for example, which describes the UV resistance of a product. And yeah, that was, for me, one of the most important things. We did some other smaller things, like a simulation of molding tools and the filling process during injection molding. But the most important thing was the UV testing, yes.
Yes, of course. Another thing maybe I want to talk about is the housing material. So we use here now the PA6 type, the Ultramid B3S, because these plugs are very stressed by as mechanical stress. For example, on building plants, you know, these plugs were thrown to the ground or roll over with vehicles, and this is why we choose this material. It fits perfect to our application because it combines a high impact strength and a high flexibility. So, for example, you can stretch the cover if you want to do it. Yeah, of course. You can stretch the cover until it touches the back of the housing. Really? Try. You never lost the cover, and this is amazing. So this is why we use this material and makes the whole product extremely robust.
But the title of the live talk is that it's more than a plug. And so far we talked about a plug. It's still a fantastic one, but still a plug. There's more behind it when it comes to Industry 4.0 and digitalization. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. One of the aims we followed was to develop the first intelligent CE connector for IoT applications. And with Neo, we done it. So, as you can see behind me, with the optional PCB within the front part of the Neo plug, you have the ability to collect data and transfer it to super-ordinated software level. This makes the power distribution holistically and controllable for the user. So this is why we say Neo is ready for Industry 4.0 and future-oriented.
So there's a bright future ahead for this plug. Hopefully also a bright future ahead for BASF and Walther Werke in their cooperation. Thank you very much for this live talk.
Thanks to be here.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.